apprentice bricklayer from Lancashire disappeared in Tenerife on June 17th.
Searchers have failed to uncover any trace of the 19-year-old.
Supposedly, Jay pinched a £12,000 Rolex watch just before he vanished.
Spanish police called off the search.
So recently, I've been covering a lot of drama-related topics. Usually when you click on one of these videos, you'll see something where it's like, oh, look, that YouTuber or that streamer, they did a big oopsie. They did an oopsie so big, they're going to have to do an apology or their entire career is basically over. You know, we sit down together, we laugh, we cry. You hopefully click subscribe on the video, like the video, and also buy some of my merch, which you can buy right now. Please do it. I mean, a good example is a couple of videos ago, I talked about someone that was trying to kidnap a celebrity. Like he had this elaborate plan, even contacting a hitman from America, and footage has actually surfaced of him recently basically singing songs about her.
Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain.
But I do want to say that the topic I'm talking about now does move away from the normal slop because it is definitely a lot more serious, and more importantly, it is an ongoing situation. I'd also like to say brave statements only on this channel. I am not an investigative reporter by any means. This is just something I've seen online and I've been following it with a lot of interest because this is something that keeps unfolding and there's always more questions than answers. The name Jay Slater has been doing rounds on my TikTok For You page for the past couple of weeks now, and there has been loads and loads of coverage of this situation. There's been dozens and dozens of news reports, and also, surprisingly for how serious the topic is, a lot of memes just making fun of Jay Slater.
Where the fuck is everyone?
Now, for context, Jay Slater is a 19-year-old from Lancashire in the UK, and he went missing on the 17th of June, which is over 2 weeks now. And it all started with him basically going to Tenerife with some mates on a holiday, and they attended a 3-day rave event called NRG. Now, after the event, this is when things get very, very strange. Jay was apparently seen getting into a hire vehicle with 2 other males. Now, apparently Jay and his mates that he traveled to Tenerife with, he actually met these people on the holiday. This hire car apparently drove away to a remote area about an hour away, and this is close to the national park of Rural de Teno, and this is where the 2 men had rented an Airbnb. Now, again, you're meeting 2 guys on a holiday, you're going to their Airbnb. It's not like too out of the ordinary, but this is like only the tip of the iceberg. Now, apparently Jay left the Airbnb and then asked the owner, who lived nearby, what time do the buses run, you know, so he could get a bus back to the resort area. Now, this bus wasn't due for another hour or so Jay actually decided to walk. Despite that, though, authorities actually found out that the Airbnb owner passed Jay as she was driving, and she basically pointed out that he was going in the complete wrong direction. Now, this is where things get really, really weird. Jay was obviously, you know, trying to walk back to the resort, but then he decided to walk off the road and actually go through the hills and mountains in the area. And there he had contact with one of his friends who he actually traveled to Tenerife with, basically telling him that he had no water, his phone was on 1%, and worst of all, he had no idea where he was. And then his mate, obviously trying to help him out, says, okay, well, go back to the Airbnb. But then, surprisingly, Jay actually says that he can't do that. And then you've got to ask yourself, why can't he do that? The friend then asked Jay to send them his location, and then pretty much his phone died. And despite all the reports that have came out since, and this happening like quite a good while ago, there has been not a single sighting or report of him since that's been actually verified. You've obviously had loads of people just doing memes and stuff, acting like they've met Jay Slater, like when they went to a rave or something.
You're still out on a bender, mate. You ain't going home, bro.
So later that same day, the friends got together and then basically reached out to local authorities and said that, you know, we think our friend is missing. Police then gathered together and started to do a massive search for Jay. This included, you know, helicopters, dogs, mountain rescue searches, and even drones. There was even people that flew over from the UK over to Tenerife to try and find Jay. But unfortunately, the mountain search for Jay was called off the 30th of June.
The latest on Jay Slater, we know that the Spanish police have called off the official search for them, which is sort of, for the family, would be devastating to hear.
So distressing, isn't it? Because obviously we're no further on. We've got his last movements. He did make phone calls to some of his friends. He said he had 1% of battery left when he tried to make that journey by foot that would have taken 11 hours.
Now, this is where things get even more weird, because obviously we have this situation at the minute of a missing person. To this day, they have still not been found. But now reports have came out more recently that apparently he left the Airbnb in quite a hurry, possibly that he didn't even feel safe. And why would you choose to walk back to the resort? Keep in mind the distance between the Airbnb and the resort, it was like a good 14-hour walk. And on top of that as well, why would you use like the mountains and the hills and not use the road? Now, interestingly, the two men who took Jay back to their Airbnb, they were deemed like irrelevant to the investigation, and they're allowed to travel back to the UK. And this was the day after Jay Slater had been like officially reported missing. Honestly, even if you deem them like irrelevant to the investigation, I'm not really sure why you would let two people off so soon and so quickly. You would kind of think, okay, no, just hold tight a minute. We have someone from the UK who is not from this country, and they have just gone completely missing. You're also from the UK. I'm not saying you've done anything, but let's just, you know, maybe have a little look around first and not just, you know, give you a day and then let you off. And to make matters worse, the police on the island have apparently been flat out refusing help from people in the UK. Now, like that search I was talking about earlier in the mountains that concluded on the 30th of June, then the Spanish authorities' forensics team were actually seen entering the Airbnb that Jay was staying at. Now, they spent a couple of hours there, I assume taking samples and stuff, but there's been no update on that since. All we really know is at the minute they've stopped officially searching in the mountains, which doesn't mean that this investigation is over. It just means, again, they're not looking in the mountains anymore. That is, of course, what the police are saying, if we can believe what the police are saying. But now we've covered all the initial details, I did want to explore the aspect, could this possibly be gang related? So when Jay was 16 or 17 years old, he had ties to a criminal gang. This wasn't anything serious like the Mafia or like the Sopranos or anything. This was basically just like a youth gang. And in 2021, that gang had been charged with attacking another boy called Tom Hilton. Now, this attack was brutal. It involved a machete, golf clubs, an axe. Now, Tom was hit in the head. Thankfully, he didn't die, but this did leave him with serious injuries. Now, despite this attack taking place with the gang, apparently none of them received any kind of prison sentence. They just got community service instead. Now, there was a huge switch up online, and this is probably one of the reasons why you're seeing so many memes about Jay Slater now, is because, you know, we saw this as a situation where there was another missing boy in the UK because so many people go missing every day. But then people started to look into his past, see that he was organized in a gang that like pretty brutally beat up another guy. So a lot of that goodwill on the internet basically vanished, and people thought it was a free ticket to start memeing on him. And a lot of people even speculated that this gang activity he had as a kid is basically like caught up to him now, and it's one of the reasons for his disappearance. Now, Tom Hilton, the one that was attacked, he's been brought up more than once to the point that he actually had to make a post basically saying, "Don't focus on me, we need Jay found." Whoever's writing on these TikToks, give it a rest. This young lad's missing and his family's heartbroken. Put yourself in their shoes, stop talking nonsense on social, and get this lad found. Mentioning my name, all this and that, have some respect and help find this boy and get him back to his family. Now, Jay's family have received a lot of help from, you know, their community, family, friends, even other outside sources. Actually, one of the more notable examples, which is really strange, is a former ex-UK detective. Now, this guy is called Mark Williams Thomas, and his former employment, like I said, he was a UK detective who's basically doing all the detective work you could imagine. But now he's moved up in the world and he's an investigative reporter for TV. You may have actually seen him on a Netflix show called The Investigator, or Dando Files on Amazon Prime. Now, he has been a very active part of this investigation, and I would say he's definitely one of the few people that is keeping everyone in the loop on this. Obviously, his main form of getting the information out there is posting on TikTok. I think one thing that's really sad about this situation is like this guy is giving legitimate updates to the investigation because he has first-hand involvement, but then like his TikTok account is basically reaching absolutely no one. He'll usually get like 10,000 likes at most, 100,000 views, but then like people like memeing on Jay Slater, they will instantly get like 1 million views or like 100,000 likes. Now, from one of the TikToks that he posted, Mark basically said that he has a theory that actually Jay might have stolen a Rolex, an incredibly expensive watch, and that might be one of the reasons why he didn't want to return back to the Airbnb.
Jay posted this Snapchat saying that he'd taken a £12,000 Rolex from a person. We've been unable to validate this in terms of a reported theft. However, friends of Jay said he would not make this up. and the watch was subject of later conversation between the friends.
On top of that as well, he might have even been hiding in the mountains, you know, to basically avoid the people that he might have stolen this watch from. But again, if anything, like this game theory, it brings more questions than actual answers again. And this watch, by the way, is a real watch. This is like official covered news. Apparently, Jay, before losing contact with his friends on the phone, told them that he stole a £12,000 Rolex watch briefly before losing connection.
We've received information that would suggest that Jay left the rental property feeling scared and he would not return to the rental, even though that would have been the most sensible course of action, and also where he could have charged his phone, got some water, and made contact with friends.
Now, with all this going on, what usually happens when there's someone who's, you know, ill or goes missing is a GoFundMe is made to try and support them. The goal for the GoFundMe was set at around £30,000 at the time of recording. It is just under £50,000. It'll probably go, you know, over that by the time this video actually comes out. Now, the description of the GoFundMe is pretty much everything I've said in this video, but there has been an update from Jay's mom, Debbie. She basically mentioned that she has no intentions of sharing where the rest of the funds will go, which again is a little bit odd. Hi everyone, this is Debbie again. First, I would like to thank everyone for your support, kind messages, and good wishes. It's difficult to wrap our heads around what is happening right now, but we are not losing hope that we will find Jay and return home together. We're currently working with GoFundMe to withdraw part of the funds which are being safely held. I wanted to share that these funds will be used to support the mountain rescue teams who are tirelessly searching for Jay. Additionally, since our stay in Tenerife needs to be extended, we will also be using the funds to cover accommodation and food expenses. I'm surrounded by wonderful people who are by my side, but far from their loved ones. So we'll also be using part of the funds to fly them to Tenerife so we can support each other during these dark times. Thank you for your donations and support. This means the world to us. Now, this statement on its own seemed to arise like a lot of suspicion. Again, I do want to say, like, there have been so many people that have basically just been attacking Jay Slater and his family non-stop, especially when that story originally came out that he was in a gang and he like beat a kid half to death. But a lot of people have actually started questioning the legitimacy of this fundraiser, you know, not thinking it's real. Some of them even as going far as to say that they're basically using this money, like Jay is completely safe. He was never in any kind of danger, and they're using this as some kind of rug pull to try and bag as much money as they possibly can. And while a lot of people have their suspicions, you know, you've got Jay's dad and his brother, and they've actually been putting up missing persons posters around the island. But again, some of these comments, like just reading them, you know, something is wrong here for sure. Again, wow, brave statements only. GoFundMe should give the funds to the rescue team directly, paying for a family holiday then. So they basically wanted a holiday for the whole family paid for. Why does she talk like that? Now, putting in my 2 cents in this situation, I think a lot of people are kind of jumping the gun to kind of like a meme on Jay Slater. Could there be a chance that he was involved in, you know, an actual gang and something went wrong? Because believe me, I have seen so many theories online and I have not bothered like putting them in this video because I think a lot of them are just very insensitive. I mean, some of them, for example, basically saying that he was at like a rave, like selling drugs, and then he lost the drug money, so then he was basically kidnapped. You know, there are so many theories out there, but I think at the minute, the only important thing is to stick to the actual facts. This is why the video has not been as entertaining as other slot videos. It's just been a bit more kind of like me explaining everything that's been happening that we actually officially know of, because I see like so many memes on the Jay Slater stuff, you know, just like, you know, mocking it and stuff. But at the same time, like, this could be someone that might not actually be found, like, ever, or worse, he might turn up dead. And then I know for a fact what will happen. Those same people that are making jokes will do a 180 and be like, oh, were we the monster? Maybe the monster was in us all along, among us, if you will. And again, like a lot of stuff I cover on this channel, this is an ongoing situation, so I'm sure like more news is going to come out pretty soon. If there's anything huge, any kind of big updates on that, I will probably do like a follow-up video, because again, it's interesting how like in the UK, despite the UK not being like my biggest demographic, it is America, like this has just basically gripped the entire country.